Hey y'all, Anthony here, one half of the dev team at Center Still Studio, whose YouTube you're currently on. I'm doing a first impressions play test of Vigneshkrishnan's Space Shooter, which is available, it looks like, in browser. Let me try to respawn it here. Okay, I think it's probably going to be better. Retro space shooter game. Left click to shoot, move, collect enemy drops to change weapons. Kind of wish there was a download. I'm not a big fan of the in-browser games, but I know a lot of people are. But I'm gonna play it anyway. Hopefully, it fits with the size of my resolution here. Definitely, I appreciate in-browser games. Definitely really cool. But for recording purposes, it usually cuts down to my frame rate. So hopefully, this is nice and smooth. I do these to give some much-needed feedback to game developers. 100% of them so far have been indie developers, some amateur, some professional. It doesn't really matter. I love playing games, and 100% of them have always been fantastic prototypes or kind of finished versions of games. So let's give some feedback here. Let's go ahead and run the game. Alright, looks like, wait, let me see. Can I do, okay, good. Alright, so I can do full screen. That's pretty good. Oh, nice. Okay, can we WASD? Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Controls are a little strange. Let me turn this down. Alright. Did you say arrow keys? Let me try again. Alright, the controls are very, very strange. Interesting though, because it's a very novel approach to control. So it's almost like it's so weird. Wait, hold on. Okay, so it says left click to shoot move, which makes sense. So it's very, very interesting. I appreciate the novel approach to movement. Hold on. Let me get used to it here. Right off the bat, right out of the gate, it's really weird. Whoa, did I cross over into something? I think I did. So weird. It definitely 100% feels like I'm using the force of the gunfire, of the firing, to propel myself backward. So I'm shooting forward and my ship is moving backward at the same time, and I'm shooting wherever my mouse is aimed, which is cool. Whoop, let me go up there. I don't know if that was a bug or what that did. Try to collect a little yellow. Definitely cool. I really don't dislike it. I like it a lot. Whoa, hello. Because it's so unique. I was not expecting it whatsoever. Alright, so I don't know what that... Oh, okay. Could maybe give some kind of feedback to what I pick up when I pick something up like that. Okay, and there's a timer. Okay, so maybe have some kind of visual feedback for that. I don't know why. It looks like when I go outside of the bounds of where I currently was, the enemies that spawn, the red enemies, turn a light pink. Alright, I definitely think you should keep this. I like the elegance of only using one hand to move. Oh no. I like how you have enemies killed. Very cool. Here's what I think needs to be added, would be a background that moves. It moves kind of independently of everything. I mean, it moves almost parallax with my movement, so you can strengthen the feeling of motion. So right now I'm kind of I'm assuming I'm moving, and it looks like I'm moving, but everything in the foreground, myself and my enemies, are just overlaid on top of an unmoving, nondescript blue background. So I would work on adding some kind, maybe a star field. Oh, hello. Something in the background that is able to move with me. Damn. Something in the background that also helps to indicate that I'm moving without being distracting from the action that's in front. So I know how difficult that can be, but I would work on implementing that next. Seems that you have the basics for the game down. I almost wish that like right click would propel me forward, just almost like a stamina based like rocket boost. So it's like I'm moving around like this, which is cool, but I wish I had maybe like something on cooldown that I can like aim. Well, that's weird. Alright, that felt really cheap. I hit the thing like that was light pink and I can't kill it, but I can run into it and I can get killed. That feels really cheap. Hey, it feels cheap because I don't know why it was pink, I guess. So I don't understand the mechanic of the ones that are light pink. The majority of the enemies are just solid red, but then the other ones that look identical to it are light pink for some reason that I can't ascertain. And I don't know if I have control over it or not. But I can hit it like that. I can't kill them, but they can kill me. That feels kind of weird. I would maybe work on strengthening that to at least let me know why they're light pink. There we go, okay. I would add visual and audio cues to picking up items. I would also add them to when the gun changes. Because if I'm not really focusing on, if I'm just focusing on movement, then I can't kind of remember or tell that my gun just changed. What was I saying before? Okay, so shooting forward propels me backwards. That's super unique. I find myself enjoying it now. I really like it. It was just strange in the beginning because we're not used to it as game players. We've been kind of, we've been trained over decades that, you know, you move independently of shooting and you move forward, and shooting never moves you backwards. So I really like the switch up here a lot. But one thing I do kind of wish I had, one thing I kind of wish I had was like a right click. Like I said, that would just propel me forward like a couple of spaces, maybe like halfway across the screen very quickly, like a rocket boost in the direction I'm aiming. You know, so I can kind of like at the last second, I can kind of like and like get out of like a hard, like a between a rock and a hard place. I can get out of a difficult corner that I've backed myself into. But I would make that, if you were to implement something like that, I would make it so it's almost like a rarity. Maybe it's something you have to power up first somehow. You know, it would be a second major mechanic. So here's a yellow one I want to grab. All right, cool. Woo! No. Very cool. I like it. This is very unique. I like it a lot. So in order to get over there, I have to actually move. I have to like shoot backwards. I like how there's not something that's like friendly fire. You might be implementing that later. Woo! Yeah. Ah, damn. I can see like a level. So right now the world is just flat. It's a flat, open, infinite world, and everything comes at you from angles. And I'm thinking that if you can implement a level that is almost like a maze, not necessarily a maze, but it has walls and ceilings. It's like a top-down, going through like chambers. You know, you're going through like a hallway that has twists and turns in it, and there's enemies following you behind you that are chasing you down through this, and you're trying to, whoa! And you're trying to move through this space, while destroying the things that are chasing you. I could see that being very interesting. So you're trying to get through this long tunnel system, making like turns and twists, and maybe there's dead ends and things like that. And these creatures are always coming at you from maybe the right or left side of the screen, and you're simultaneously attacking them on one side and moving toward openings on the other side, toward hallway openings. I could see that being a very complex, very quickly, just based on this one mechanic, which is just movement, which is reverse movement, pushing yourself with the weapon. Very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. Things could be a little more clear, but other than that, this is damn. I can see some sound effects. You could work with tension a lot if you were to. You could change the way this entire game feels if you take the music out, and instead you add sound effects for the creatures. So meaning that, imagine I'm shooting these things and that big purple creature appears with like the shark looking mouth, but you give him maybe like a monster roar before he comes on. I mean, you could do that with the music as well. It wouldn't be as tense, but you could like him. So he appears right there. But right before he comes on the screen, you could announce his existence by giving me a monster roar or a dinosaur roar or a zombie, like a loud zombie moan or something. Think what's that game? What the hell is that game? Left 4 Dead. How the enemies. Okay, so now I can kill these things. Ah, damn. Okay, so now I can. So with that special weapon, it looked like I could kill those light pink ones. But anyway, so think of like Left 4 Dead. How there were 4 or 5 special zombies in that game. There was one type of basic zombie that everybody killed. It was like a couple of hit kill, depending on what kind of weapon you had, and they just rushed at you. But then, as you progress through the levels in certain rooms, in certain alleyways, in certain areas of the level, randomly, special zombies would appear, but you would hear those special zombies before they actually showed up visually, and that added a ton of tension. So I'm thinking, I'm just kind of brainstorming as I'm kind of enjoying the gameplay here. But something similar could occur. You could announce these special creatures. First of all, I think the creatures should be more common. So you have these red creatures, and it's fun to dodge them, but I think that you should bring those special creatures out more often. It feels way too rare that they occur. Bring them out, decrease the amount of time between the instances of them. But you could have audio cues before they show up, so I know they're about to show up. And maybe make, damn. Okay. This is fantastic. This is really good. I love it. I really like it. I mean, I'm playing. I think it could be. I think that the controls are, like, super elegant. I don't really think you have to do really anything with the controls. I don't think, which is really great. I mean, controls are very difficult to get down depending on the complexity of your game. But right out of the gate, I love it. It's the fact that the controls themselves are the main selling mechanic of it. I just think that the visuals can really be updated. They can really be pushed. I think that you could, I think the audio could be pushed, sound effects could be implemented. I think that the information, given to the player about what these things do could really be enhanced and much more elegant. What these different squares do, what they are, the timer on them whatever they do to my gun, whatever they do to those, it shows me more information of what they do, when they count down, how long they're going to last, things like that. I think the background could really be improved from the blue. I think it needs to be improved from the blue, because I think the movement needs to be pushed even further. So the fact I'm moving feels like I'm moving, but I think you could push that even further, and I kind of think it needs to be pushed further. Maybe just a black background with just like white pixels of varying sizes, and actually maybe even make various plates in the background of, like, there's a plate very close to me that has kind of big white pixels, and then a plate behind that has slightly smaller white pixels. Plate behind that has even smaller white pixels, and then have those parallax with varying speeds. Faster, like the closer they are to me, the faster that they're moving, and the further away they are, the more that they appear to be standing still. That way you really enhance that feeling of movement. You have to be careful with that because you don't want the player getting sick from like motion sickness, but that's something you can play with. But I think that you should move closer to that extreme, rather than the extreme it's at right now, which is just one blank color. I don't think it does your game enough justice. I think this game deals so much with the mechanics of the motion that you should push that motion as much as possible. You should push the fact that you're moving as much as possible. That's awesome. I love the mechanic. I enjoy that it's in browser. I do like in browser games. I hope you can maybe add something where you allow us to download it, potentially with a. I don't really know where you're going with it. I don't know where you're going to go with the game. I don't know if it's just a hobby of etc. But it's a very, very good proof of concept of an extremely interesting mechanic that I haven't really played before. It might exist already. I don't know, but this is the first time I'm experiencing it. But I don't know. Very awesome. I hope my feedback is helpful here. I think you can push the visuals a lot. I think that after pushing the visuals, I would work on getting the information of what the yellow blocks do. I would work on the variability of them. Really make it more interesting as well. Keep me within an interesting game loop. Definitely create more interesting creatures and throw them at me a bit more often, so I'm not just fighting the red creatures. It'd be interesting to maybe work on like some kind of implicit story of what these creatures are and where I am. I feel kind of like I'm in space, but I don't know what the red creatures are. They feel like creatures floating in space. I don't know if you maybe make them spaceships or something, or like pixelated blocky spaceships. I don't know, the sky's the limit with this. I mean, it's really, really, really awesome. I mean, you did a really fantastic job. I would keep pushing it, keep working on getting the information to the player, and work on your visuals and the audio a little bit more. But right now, you have a really great base of a game here that I don't think you should let up. I think you should keep going with it and keep pushing at it. This is awesome. I had a really great time playing it, and I hope that this feedback is helpful for you. Yeah, thank you so much for letting me play, whether in browser or download, doesn't really matter. I hope that the frame rate stayed up. Usually when I play in browser games, the only reason I'm talking about is usually when I play browser games and try to record them, it usually drops my frame rate. So I'm hoping that the frame rate stayed a nice steady 20 frames a second, that I'm keeping it on to try to give you nice smooth feedback. So hopefully that works, and hopefully this feedback is helpful for you. All right, thank you so much, and keep rocking. All right, see you.